Incredible horsemanship. Royal Guards handle high drama at Horse Guard. The sound of the city moved quietly in the background, but inside the parade area, everything felt calm and controlled. The Royal Guards arrived early, following the same routine they had practiced for years. Their movements were slow, steady, and full of purpose. Each guard wore the traditional uniform with pride, knowing that many eyes would soon be watching them. The horses were brought out carefully from their stables. These were not ordinary animals. They were strong, tall, and trained through long months of patient work. Each horse knew its role, and each guard knew the habits and moods of the horse they rode. The bond between them was built over time, through trust, repetition, and quiet understanding. As the guards mounted their horses, they checked the reins, adjusted their posture, and took a deep breath. For them, this was not a performance but a responsibility. Slowly, visitors began to arrive. Tourists from different parts of the world gathered near the barriers, holding cameras and phones. Some spoke softly, others laughed, and a few pointed excitedly at the horses. Children stood on their toes to see better, while adults admired the uniforms and the calm presence of the guards. To most people, this was a moment of beauty and tradition, something to enjoy and remember. They did not think about how much training stood behind that calm picture. The guards remained still, their faces serious and focused. They were trained to stand firm no matter what happened around them. Cars passed in the distance, footsteps echoed, and voices rose and fell, but the guards did not react. The horses stood quietly, their ears moving slightly as they listened to the sounds around them. Even when calm, a horse is always aware of its surroundings. It notices things that humans often miss. As time passed, the crowd grew larger. More people pressed closer to the barriers, trying to get the perfect photo. The energy of the place slowly changed. It was still peaceful, but there was more movement, more noise. A street performer nearby began playing music, and somewhere a vehicle made a sharp sound as it stopped suddenly. These were normal city sounds, yet each one added a small layer of tension that only a trained eye could notice. One of the guards gently adjusted his grip on the reins. He felt the horse shift its weight slightly beneath him. It was a small movement, almost unnoticeable, but to the guard it meant something. He stayed calm, keeping his body relaxed. Horses can sense tension, and the guard knew that even a small sign of worry could pass from rider to animal. He breathed slowly, keeping his posture strong and balanced. The sun climbed higher, warming the ground. A light breeze moved through the area, causing flags and loose clothing to flutter. The horses flicked their tails and blinked, remaining mostly steady. Everything still looked perfect to the crowd. Photos were taken, smiles were shared, and the moment seemed frozen in time. Yet beneath the surface, the guards were fully alert, ready to respond if needed. A few people in the crowd began to step forward and then back again, unsure of where they were allowed to stand. Someone dropped an object, and it made a sharp sound as it hit the ground. A horse lifted its head slightly, muscles tightening for just a second. The guard noticed immediately and gave a gentle signal through the reins, a quiet reminder that everything was fine. The horse settled, but the warning signs were there. The guards had seen moments like this before. They knew that calm situations could change in seconds. Their training was not only about looking strong, but about thinking clearly under pressure. Each guard watched not only their own horse, but also the space around them. They noticed how close the crowd stood, how fast people were moving, and how the horses reacted to small changes. For the visitors, it was easy to believe that nothing could go wrong. The guards looked unshakable, almost like part of the scenery. But the guards understood that working with animals in a public place always carried risk. Horses are powerful and intelligent, but they are also sensitive. A sudden sound or movement can trigger a natural response. That is why the guards stayed focused, even when everything seemed calm. As the minutes passed, the parade ground felt full of quiet expectation. The guards continued their duty, standing tall, their horses steady beneath them. The crowd watched, unaware that the calm of the moment was delicate, like glass that could crack with one sudden shock. No one knew yet that the routine day was slowly moving toward an unexpected test. The air felt different now, heavier in a way that was hard to explain. The guards sensed it even if they could not name it. Their hands stayed ready, their minds alert. The horses shifted slightly, responding to the energy around them. It was still early and nothing had gone wrong, but the story of the day was already changing. This was how the high drama began, not with chaos, but with silence, control, and a calm surface hiding the challenges that were about to appear. The calm of the morning did not last. What had felt steady only moments before began to shift in small but important ways. The crowd, now larger and more excited, moved closer to the barriers. People talked louder, phones were raised higher, and some visitors tried to get the attention of the horses by waving or pointing. Most did not mean any harm. They were simply caught up in the moment. But animals do not understand excitement the way humans do. A sudden sharp sound broke through the air. It was quick and unexpected, louder than the usual city noise. A few people in the crowd jumped in surprise. One of the horses reacted instantly. Its ears moved back and its body stiffened. The guard felt the change at once. The horse lifted its head, breathing faster, trying to understand the source of the sound. The guard remained still but fully alert. Nearby, another horse sensed the tension. Horses are social animals, and they often react together. This second horse shifted its feet, stamping the ground once. It was not aggressive, but it was a sign of discomfort. The guards knew these signs well. They did not panic because panic would only make things worse. Instead, they focused on control, calm, and space. The crowd noticed something was different. The perfect still picture they had been watching was now alive with movement. Some people stepped back, unsure of what to do. Others leaned forward, curious rather than cautious. A few parents pulled their children closer. The sound of voices grew louder as people whispered and pointed. The horse that had reacted first took a small step sideways. It was a natural movement, but in a crowded public place, even a small step mattered. The guard adjusted his balance smoothly, keeping his body relaxed. He gently guided the reins, giving the horse a clear but calm signal. His face showed no emotion, but his mind was working quickly. He needed to calm the horse without drawing attention or causing further stress. Another noise followed, this time closer. It could have been an object dropping, a sudden shout, or something mechanical nearby. Whatever the cause, it added to the tension. The horse lifted one front leg, uncertain, ready to move if needed. The guard spoke softly, using a low and steady voice that only the horse could hear. This was not about commands, but reassurance. Other guards noticed the situation immediately. Without making it obvious, they adjusted their positions. One guard guided his horse slightly forward to create more space. Another turned just enough to block part of the crowd's view, reducing visual pressure on the animals. Their movements were slow and controlled, almost invisible to anyone not trained to see them. The crowd's energy continued to shift. Some people laughed nervously, not fully understanding the seriousness of the moment. Others felt uneasy and stepped further back. A few raised their phones higher, hoping to capture what they believed was an exciting moment. They did not realize that this attention could increase the stress for the horses. The horse's breathing was still faster than normal. Its muscles were tense, ready to react. The guard felt every movement through the saddle. Years of training told him not to fight the horse, but to guide it. Force would only increase fear. Calm leadership was the key. He kept his hands steady, his legs relaxed, and his posture strong. A second horse tossed its head slightly, reacting to the movement of the first. The guards exchanged brief glances, silent communication built through long experience. No words were needed. Each knew what the other was doing. Their goal was the same: protect the public, protect the horses, and restore calm without drama. For a moment, it felt like time slowed down. The sounds of the crowd faded into the background as the guards focused on the animals beneath them. The horses were not misbehaving. They were responding to confusion and sudden changes, as any living creature would. The guards respected this and worked with it, not against it. One visitor near the front took a step too close to the barrier. A guard raised a hand slightly, signaling them to move back. The gesture was calm but firm. The person quickly understood and stepped away. Small actions like this helped reduce pressure on the horses. Space was important now. The horse that had first reacted began to settle slightly, then tensed again as another sound echoed nearby. It was a test of patience and control. The guard continued speaking softly, his voice steady and low. He shifted his weight just enough to help the horse regain balance and confidence. Slowly, the horse stopped moving its feet and stood more evenly. The other horses followed this change. As one calmed, the others sensed it. The guards maintained their positions, creating a quiet barrier between the animals and the crowd. The public began to sense that this was not just a show, but a serious moment requiring respect. Voices softened and movement slowed. Still, the tension had not fully passed. The guards remained ready. They knew that animals could calm quickly but also react again if startled. Every sound, every movement mattered. Their training taught them to expect the unexpected and stay prepared without showing fear. The crowd watched in silence now. Some people realized how close the situation had come to becoming dangerous. Others felt admiration for the guards, seeing their skill in action for the first time. What looked simple on the surface was, in truth, the result of years of discipline and trust. As the noise level dropped and the space around the horses increased, the moment began to turn. The guards had managed to stop the situation from growing worse. But the day was not over, and the challenge had tested everyone involved. What happened next would show just how strong the bond between guard and horse truly was. The guards knew that this moment was the most important one. The danger was not loud or obvious, but quiet and sensitive. The horses were still alert, still listening to every sound around them. A single mistake could undo all the calm that had slowly returned. The guards did not rush. They understood that patience was their strongest tool. The guard on the first horse kept his breathing slow and steady. Horses often match the breathing of their riders, and he used this to help the animal relax. He did not pull the reins tightly. Instead, he kept a gentle, steady contact, letting the horse feel guidance without pressure. His legs stayed calm against the horse's sides, sending a clear message that there was no need to move quickly. The horse's ears moved forward and back as it listened. Its eyes were wide but focused. The guard spoke softly again, using the same calm tone he had used many times during training. This voice was familiar to the horse. It had heard it during long practice sessions, in open fields and in busy areas. Slowly, the horse began to recognize that this situation, though noisy, was under control. Nearby, other guards continued their quiet support. One guard shifted his horse just enough to block sudden movement from the crowd. Another guard watched the people closely, ready to signal if someone stepped too close or made a sudden move. Their teamwork was smooth and silent. No one gave loud commands. No one showed fear. This calm behavior helped everyone around them relax. The crowd, now much quieter, watched closely. People could see the effort it took to keep everything steady. Some visitors lowered their phones, realizing that this was not a moment for excitement but for respect. Children grew quiet, sensing the seriousness of the situation. The space felt different now, filled with focus instead of noise. The first horse took a deep breath. Its body softened slightly, and the tight muscles began to loosen. The guard felt this change and responded by relaxing his posture just a bit more. This small response told the horse it was doing the right thing. Trust flowed both ways. The horse trusted the guard to keep it safe, and the guard trusted the horse to listen. Another horse, still a little unsure, shifted its feet again. This time the movement was smaller, less tense. The guard riding it gave a gentle signal, guiding the horse to stand evenly. He did not look down or move suddenly. Everything was done slowly, with care. The goal was not just to stop movement, but to rebuild confidence. The sounds of the city continued in the distance. Cars passed, people talked, and life moved on. But within the parade ground, there was a strong sense of control. The guards had created a calm space through their presence alone. Their experience showed in every movement, every pause, every choice they made. One of the guards made brief eye contact with another. It was a simple look, but it carried understanding. They both knew the hardest part was nearly over, but they could not relax yet. Horses can sense when attention fades. Full focus was still needed. The first horse lowered its head slightly, a clear sign of easing tension. Its breathing slowed, becoming deeper and more regular. The guard gently adjusted the reins, guiding the horse back into its proper position. There was no force, no struggle. It felt natural, almost effortless, but only because of the careful work done moments earlier. The crowd seemed to breathe out together. People realized they had just witnessed something special. This was not just about control, but about connection. The guards were not overpowering the animals. They were working with them, listening and responding in a calm, respectful way. Still, the guards stayed alert. Training taught them that situations can change again quickly. They kept their posture strong and their eyes moving. Every sound was noticed, every movement checked. But now the horses were calmer, more settled, and ready to continue their duty. The guard who had first dealt with the tension felt a quiet sense of relief, but he did not show it. His face remained calm and serious. Inside, he felt pride, not in himself, but in the horse beneath him. The animal had trusted him in a stressful moment, and together they had worked through it. As more calm settled over the area, the guards slowly guided the horses back into full formation. Each step was careful and controlled. The horses moved as one, their hooves making soft, steady sounds against the ground. This return to order showed the strength of their training and the bond they shared with their riders. The crowd now watched with admiration instead of excitement. Many people would later talk about what they saw, describing the calm strength of the guards and the discipline of the horses. But in this moment, everything felt quiet and balanced again. The most difficult part of the situation had passed, not through force or fear, but through patience, skill, and understanding. The guards had faced the challenge with calm minds and steady hands. The horses had responded with trust. Together, they had shown what true horsemanship really meant. The ceremony was not over, and the day still held responsibility. But this moment had proven something important. When skill meets calm leadership, even high tension can be guided back into peace. With the horses calmer now, the guards focused on restoring full order without drawing attention to what had just happened. Their goal was not only to keep control, but to make the situation look smooth and natural. The public ceremony had to continue, and it had to appear calm and dignified. This was part of their duty. Even after tension, they were trained to return everything to normal with quiet confidence. The guard who had first sensed trouble gently guided his horse back into the exact position it needed to be. The horse followed the signal without resistance. Its steps were slow and steady, each movement showing growing confidence. The guard kept his posture tall, shoulders relaxed, and eyes forward. Anyone watching closely could see the care in every motion, but nothing looked rushed or forced. Other guards did the same. One by one, they adjusted their positions, bringing the line back into perfect order. The horses stood evenly spaced, their heads held high, their bodies calm. The sounds of hooves stopped, replaced by stillness. It was as if the earlier tension had been carefully folded away and hidden from view. The crowd watched in silence. Many people felt a strong sense of respect now. What they had just seen was not part of a planned show. It was real, and that made it powerful. Some visitors lowered their phones and simply observed. Others whispered quietly, sharing their thoughts about how skilled the guards were. A few people nodded to themselves, clearly impressed by the level of control and patience shown. The guards remained alert even as calm returned. Training taught them that the moment after a problem can be just as important as the problem itself. Horses can relax quickly, but sudden changes can still happen. The guards kept their attention sharp, listening to the horses' breathing, feeling their movements through the saddle, and watching the crowd for any sign of disturbance. The horses now stood quietly, their muscles relaxed. Some flicked their ears, listening to the environment, but there was no fear in their movements. The bond between guard and horse felt strong again. This bond was not built in a day. It came from long hours of training, quiet rides, careful correction, and mutual trust. Moments like this proved the value of that work. The ceremony continued. The guards followed their routine with precision. Movements were measured and smooth, showing discipline and pride. The horses responded perfectly, stepping forward and stopping exactly when guided. To someone seeing this for the first time, it might have looked simple. But those who understood animals knew how much effort and awareness stood behind that calm picture. The crowd slowly relaxed. People who had stepped back earlier returned to their spots, but this time with more respect. They kept a little more distance and moved more carefully. Parents reminded children to stay calm and quiet. The atmosphere changed from excitement to appreciation. The moment had taught everyone something, even if they did not fully realize it. One guard noticed a child pointing at the horses and smiling. The guard did not react outwardly, but inside he felt glad. Moments like this reminded him why his role mattered. He was not just guarding a place or following tradition. He was showing the public how calm leadership and respect for animals could prevent problems and keep everyone safe. As time passed, the earlier tension faded into memory. The guards maintained their focus, but they also felt a quiet sense of achievement. They had faced a difficult situation and handled it without panic or force. This was exactly what their training prepared them for. Not every challenge was loud or dramatic. Some were silent tests of patience and control. The horses seemed comfortable now, standing tall and proud. Their breathing was steady and their movements were calm. They trusted the riders on their backs. This trust was clear in the way they responded to even the smallest signals. A slight shift of weight, a gentle touch of the reins, or a soft voice was enough to guide them. The crowd's attention returned to the ceremony itself. Cameras were raised again, but now with a different feeling. People were not just capturing images, they were capturing respect. Many would later talk about how calm and professional the guards were, and how impressive it was to see animals handled with such care in a busy public space. The guards continued their duty without showing any sign of what they had just managed. Their faces remained calm, their posture unchanged. This was part of their role. The public did not need to see the effort behind the calm. The success of their work was measured by how little disruption others noticed. As the ceremony moved forward, the guards felt the environment settle completely. The balance between people, animals, and space had been restored. What could have turned into confusion had been guided back into order through experience and calm thinking. This part of the day would not be written into official records, but it would be remembered by those who witnessed it. It was a quiet example of responsibility and skill. The guards had protected the dignity of the ceremony, the safety of the public, and the well-being of the horses. The situation had tested everyone involved, but it ended with control and respect. The guards had shown that true strength does not come from force, but from patience, awareness, and trust. As the ceremony continued under the open sky, everything felt balanced again, just as it was meant to be. As the ceremony slowly came to its natural end, the guards remained steady in their positions. The earlier tension felt far away now, like something that belonged to another part of the day. The horses stood calmly, their bodies relaxed, their breathing slow and even. To anyone watching at this moment, it seemed as if nothing unusual had ever happened. That quiet return to normal was the true success of the guards' work. The crowd began to change again, but this time in a softer way. People spoke quietly, sharing thoughts with those beside them. Some smiled, others nodded with appreciation. Many visitors stayed longer than planned, feeling that they had witnessed something meaningful. It was not just about uniforms or tradition anymore. It was about skill, patience, and calm leadership shown in real time. Parents spoke to their children in low voices, explaining how the guards had stayed calm and how the horses had listened. Children watched the horses with new respect, no longer seeing them only as large animals, but as living beings that responded to care and understanding. These small lessons, learned without words, stayed with them. The guards did not seek attention or praise. Their faces remained serious, their focus unchanged. This was how they were trained. Doing the job well meant letting the moment pass quietly. Inside, however, each guard felt a sense of calm pride. They knew they had handled a difficult situation the right way. Not with force, not with fear, but with control and trust. As time passed, some visitors began to leave the area. They walked away slowly, often turning back for one last look. Many carried more than photos with them. They carried stories they would tell friends and family. They would speak about the calm strength of the guards and the way the horses responded. These stories would travel far beyond the parade ground. The horses shifted gently as the guards prepared to move them later in the day. Each movement was careful and respectful. The guards spoke softly, using familiar tones. The horses responded willingly, stepping forward or standing still as guided. The bond between them was clear to anyone who watched closely. It was a bond built on time, patience, and shared experience. One guard gently patted his horse's neck for a brief moment, careful to keep the movement subtle. The horse flicked an ear and remained calm. It was a quiet exchange, not meant for the crowd. Moments like these were personal, reminders of trust earned through long hours together. The guard knew that without this bond, the earlier situation could have ended very differently. The parade ground returned to its usual rhythm. Sounds blended together again, footsteps, distant traffic, quiet conversations. The tension that once filled the air was gone. In its place was a calm sense of order. The space felt balanced, as if everything had found its proper place again. Later, as the guards continued their duties, the memory of the incident stayed with them, not as fear, but as a reminder of why their training mattered. Every practice session, every careful lesson with the horses had led to this moment. Training was not just about routine. It was about preparing for the unexpected and responding with calm control. The horses, too, seemed settled. Animals remember how situations end. Ending the moment calmly helped them feel safe again. This made future duties easier and strengthened their trust in their riders. The guards understood this well. Caring for the horses' well-being was as important as protecting the public. By the end of the day, the parade ground looked just as it had in the morning. Clean, open, and peaceful. There was no sign of the tension that had once passed through it, but for those who had been there, the memory remained strong. It was a reminder that behind calm traditions are real people and animals working together under pressure. Some visitors later shared their experience online or with friends. They spoke about how impressed they were by the guards' calm behavior. They admired how the situation was handled without loud commands or panic. These stories helped others understand that true professionalism often appears quiet and controlled. For the guards, this day became one of many in their long service. It was not marked with celebration or special mention, yet it stayed with them as a quiet example of their role. They were not just part of a ceremony. They were responsible for safety, dignity, and care, even when challenges appeared without warning. As evening approached, the light changed, casting long shadows across the ground. The guards continued their work, steady and focused. The horses moved calmly beside them, trusting and confident once more. The day had tested them, but it had also proven the strength of their partnership. What made this moment truly special was not the drama, but the way it ended. Calm replaced tension. Control replaced uncertainty. Respect guided every decision. This was the true meaning of horsemanship, not just riding skill, but understanding, patience, and leadership. Those who witnessed the event carried away a deeper appreciation for the role of the guards. They saw that tradition was not only about appearance, but about responsibility. The guards stood as an example of how calm action can prevent harm and restore balance. As the last visitors left and the parade ground grew quiet, the guards and horses remained a steady presence. The day ended peacefully, just as it had begun, but with a deeper meaning now attached to it. This story, though simple, became a reminder that even in familiar places, unexpected moments can arise. How those moments are handled defines their outcome. Through calm minds, steady hands, and strong bonds, the guards had turned potential chaos into a lesson in control and trust. And so, the day closed not with applause or noise, but with quiet respect. The kind that lasts longer than excitement. The kind that stays in memory.